So we've talked in detail about the two measures of center, mean and median, and when they are more appropriate than the other one. So the last one is the mode. The mode is the most frequently occurring data value, and this could be either for numerical or categorical data. So notice the mean and the median really only makes sense if you have numerical data, because you can't find an average of something that's not numerical, and also if you have categories, you can reorder them any way you want, so finding the middle category also loses meaning. So when those both lose meaning, then we could go to the mode. The mode simply is what data value, so what category, in this case it could be, or number, is the most frequent. Now there is a little bit of a difference between looking at a mode, numerical versus categorical though. If you have numerical values, you can have multiple modes that are not even close in value. Okay, for instance, look below, we've got the length of time dentists spend with their patients. And I know these are fairly close, but they wouldn't have to be. What if this mode, let's pretend that this bar went way up here to 15, let's say, and this other one was down here pretty close to, it looks like 11. Now, those are fairly far apart, especially when you're only talking about up to 15 people, maybe, then, between 11 and 15, it's not that big of a difference. So that would be two modes, two distinct modes, and we're going to call them 15 and 11 for the sake of this argument, because we're pretending this one goes up to here, because you have two distinct mounds. Right, you have a bimodal distribution. So anytime when you're talking numerical, you can have many modes of any, height. They don't even have to be similar to each other. It's just wherever you have these mounds. The reason for that is because, again, you cannot reorder these numbers. I can't reorder this x-axis so that it goes out of time. If I could reorder it, if I was allowed to reorder it, and I was allowed to put this bar right next to this one, then I would maybe only have one mound. But I'm not allowed to do that. So I'm never going to get rid of these two, humps, these two mounds. However, if you're looking at categorical data, you only have multiple modes if they are legitimately tied or almost tied in value. So they really have to be basically the same in order to consider them both modes. So you very rarely get multiple modes in categorical data. When we're looking at these birthdays of students, now they're by month, so they're definitely categorical. It makes sense to put the months in order that they come in, but we wouldn't have to. We could rearrange them if we felt like it and put them in alphabetical order or in order of the length of days that they have. I technically could rearrange those however I want. So we wouldn't consider maybe this peak and this peak as being two different modes. Because if we reordered them, which we're allowed to, then putting those all next to each other would only really have one peak. So since we're not allowed to do that, I'm going to get rid of those. We would just say that June would be the only mode. Those other ones, that has 10 birthdays in it, the other ones of 8, I wouldn't consider those also modes. Again, because of the being allowed to reorder. So very rarely in categorical data, only if I had another one that was 10 also, would I consider that a second mode. Okay, so what we want to practice now is actually finding these values with a technology, which for us will be Excel, because again, we could add all these data values together and then divide by how many there are, and we could do all that, but imagine how big data sets can get. So we really want to know how to do these with technology. The nice thing is that the mean, median, and mode commands are pretty easy in Excel. So we've got our data in Excel. To find the mean, let's say, I'm going to say mean here. So to find it, we say equals average, parentheses, open a parentheses, select your data, close it up, hit enter. So the mean of this data is about 15.57. And you can record that on your paper if you're following along. Then if I want to find the median, we can simply say equals median, parentheses, select our data range, close it up, enter. So the median is 14.5. And again, if you want to find the mode, I know in this data we could just look at it if we wanted to, but pretend it's got millions of entries and you can't just do that. We could say that the mode is found by simply doing equals mode. But this one's a little bit different. Do mode.molt, and I'll explain why. Come over here and pull this over. So you're going to do equals mode.molt, select your data range. And then we're going to hit Control-Shift-Enter. And notice we get 13 here. Oops. But if we had multiple modes, the reason why you do this is if there were multiple modes, this would then find all of them. We happen to only have one mode in this case, but let's say that the data value of 18 also had 5 entries. If you just simply type equals mode and calculate, it'll only find the first one that it comes across. And then you would be missing part of your problem. So this equals mode.molt is how, if there was a second one, it would find both of those for us. Alternatively, if you would like to, you can get all of these at once. If you go into your data analysis tool pack, so if we go into data and data analysis, and we choose descriptive statistics, oops, hang on. There it is, descriptive is statistics. And we choose our input range, so where is our data coming from? Wherever your data is. Make sure columns is selected. Close over. It says select your output range if you want to keep it in the same worksheet. So I don't want to put this on a new page. I want to just keep it on this page. So I'm going to select to put it here in this cell. Just click somewhere. And then go ahead and click on Summary Statistics and say OK. And notice what this does is it gives us several values, more than what we even needed, more than we've even talked about so far. But the mean is given to us, same as what we just found. The median is given to us, and the mode is also given to us. And we will talk about some of these other things later. So that's one way you can do it. If you need all 3 of them, then you might as well do it this way. If maybe you only need the mean, then it's probably easier to just simply calculate the mean by itself. Okay, so let's see. The last thing we want to answer on our worksheet, or what we want to talk about, is the difference between a population mean and a sample mean. So you always need to be careful to distinguish between the two. A population mean is the mean of your entire population in question. A lot of times this is unknown, right? We can't know the mean age of all human beings on the planet because there's no way I could get an answer back from every human being on the planet. So a lot of times the population means are unknown, but their symbol is mu, the Greek letter mu. The sample mean is the mean of your sample that's taken from the population. You will always know your sample mean, or you can always calculate it, and its symbol is X bar. So we take the samples, we find this sample mean, so we get these sample means in order to predict what we think mu is, even though sometimes we may never know that true mu value. The best we can do is to estimate or predict it with good samples.